Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. With us today is Science and Technology Secretary Mario Montejo. As head of the DOST, Montejo sees innovators as the key to solving problems like traffic, disasters, public health issues. Montejo hopefully will talk about DOST's projects, what the department hopes to achieve during the National Science and Technology Week that's set July 23 to 27. Thank you for coming here, Secretary Montejo.
Thank you for having me, Marietta.
Nice to have you here. So tell me, what is your passion? What are you focused on right now?
As a person, as DOST Secretary.
Let's say you, as DOST, let's say you as a person first.
Okay, as a background, I was you can term it technopreneur for the past 22 years before I joined the government. Technopreneur is really going into business based on your ideas, normally technology ideas.
Fantastic.
So I was I was the first manufacturer of well screen. Before it was foreign imported. I developed the equipment to manufacture this well screen, and with that kind of approach, we went into other kind of products. That's why I firmly believe that local technology works. Now, as a DOST secretary, the mandate really of DOST is to harness science, technology, innovation for social, economic benefit of the Filipino people.
Yes.
This is really aligned to the NEDA Secretary Balikasan presented, that to harness science, technology, and innovation to improve our competitiveness. So this is, all our programs are really aligned to this. So competitiveness in terms of products, services, and even providing government services.
And what exactly are you focused on right now?
We are primarily involved in maybe 4 or 5 programs,
okay.
Big programs. One is in agriculture, to use, again, to be able to provide the know-how and the tools.
Yes.
To improve our competitiveness to global standards.
Okay.
Again, to improve our competitiveness of our industry, starting first with our SME.
Yes.
And our industry as a whole.
Yes.
For disaster preparedness. And the fifth is for the Filipino, improvement of the Filipino lives, or health, or well-being.
When I like your first statement. You said you're a technopreneur. How far away are we from having that kind of mentality go through not just DOST but our government as a whole?
Okay, we have to really orient or make it more popular, or to the public, both government and the private, that the use of science, technology, and innovation can really improve, of course, the competitiveness, thereby resulting to viability, not only of big business, but especially small and medium. We have a program in DOST which we call Setup.
Setup, okay.
And this has been, there for the past 10 years. But amazingly, due technology intervention
yes.
to SME throughout the Philippines, we supported hundreds, thousands of small
yes.
firms.
Yes.
We give, part of the intervention is financial support.
Yes.
To get equipment.
Yes.
But the payback, because they have to pay it back liberally.
Yes.
In 3 years' time, was 85%.
Wow.
The 15% would include those that were impacted by natural disaster, yung iba doon nabaha. But 85% is a good number. It just shows that using technology can really make your business more viable. And we are talking here of business all over the Philippines.
That's great.
Some are small.
Again, technology is turning the world inside out, and every business is being disrupted to some degree with it. You've made it work as a technopreneur. But in terms of using this technology now for big societal problems, I mean, we mentioned some of them early on. The one that people know about the most seems to be Project NOAA, disaster risk reduction. Could you tell us more about what technology are you looking at, and give me a case study, say, of Project NOAA? How are you using that to solve the big problems that we have?
Project NOAA was in response to a very clear instruction of President to have an early warning for flood events
Yes.
in all the 18 major river system. That's why this was after Sendong, and to have this operational within 2 years.
Okay.
For us to have a right perspective lang, yung flood early warning has been installed in 4 major river system before. And this was done maybe for the past 30 years, 40 years. And all of them was implemented by using foreign technology.
Yes.
Or even foreign companies. But we were instructed to have this in the 18 major river system in 2 years' time. And all of the technology involved, and all the people that we used were Filipino scientists and engineers. What is it really about?
Yes.
It composed of 3 major components. Maybe there's another 4th maybe for messaging. The first one is to have a LiDAR map on the major river system, including the basin, the river basin, the watershed, the river, the floodplains. This is a high-resolution topo map from which our engineers develop flood modeling models. The second one is to install water level sensors and rain gauges in the
Yes.
watershed. And the last one is to use data from these sensors, incorporate it into the modeling, and to come up with a simulation, flood
Okay.
simulation. At first, it was 6 hours. Actually, the instructions really to have a 6 hours early warning. Why 6 hours? Because just like in Marikina, the flood that caused Marikina came from Sierra Madre.
Yes.
And the time that it took for the water from Marikina to reach, from Sierra Madre to reach Marikina, it's around 5 to 6 hours. So if we can monitor the rain in the Sierra Madre, somehow we can have, and use modeling, the impact it will cause to the floodplain, which is
Yes.
Marikina.
Yes.
So similar to that, that's what we are doing all over the Philippines. And we have models for 12 of the river system. We are confident that we can complete the 18 by end of this year or early part of next year.
Fantastic.
And we have installed maybe 450 of the sensors, the 525 that would be needed. And early part of next month, we would fully install all the remaining sensors. Actually, all of them already deployed, so it's the last part na lang yung installation. So, by end of this year, the 18 river system would be fully operational. The early warning will by end of this year. But it partially worked in Marikina. Last yung
Yes.
last baha.
Correct.
It worked also in Cagayan de Oro and Iligan when Typhoon Pablo.
Yes.
And it's one of the reasons why we were able to give early warning, why there was minimal or almost none.
What are the challenges in trying to get something like this to embed it into our system? I mean, this was something we've been talking about, the country's been talking about since like 2007, trying to get, before NDRRMC was NDRRMC. Now DOST has technology coming in to try to help people avoid danger during these things. What's the difficulty of getting it institutionalized as part of the reactions?
Okay, maybe the first part is why are we partly successful? Right?
Yes. Okay, let's put it, yes,
Okay.
definitely.
The first one is that our president believes in technology.
Yes.
And also Filipino scientists and engineers. With this kind of support, we were able to really push ahead with the programs, in spite of course, apprehension of other people that can be do it. I mean, especially since all other early warning flood natin was not Filipino developed.
Yes. In fact, there was a lot of doubt about whether we could do it, right, at the beginning when the president did that. So you're right. You were
Yes.
successful in...
And also because we're dealing with 18,
Yes.
wherein decades before, the total number of river system that have some form of early warning was 4 or 5 only.
Okay.
We're trying to complete 18 in 2 years. It just shows what Filipino can do.
Yes, yes. It's a very aggressive timetable. So then, aside from that, because so again, political will. I hear this all the time, from the RH law to the impeachment of the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But in this situation now, so you've created a system that's new. People are using it. Certainly, people on social media are aware of it. It's helped get more information to people. How are you institutionalizing it as part of the government's response, down to our LGUs using it?
Okay, first of all is, of course, because we use social media, we are using all forms of communication.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, it's appreciated now by the public. So it's easier for us to go to the LGU and use this system. The second one is really, because again, because of technology, it's sometimes very hard to appreciate weather forecast, the public, to appreciate what it can do.
Yes.
But if it is in the form of inundation maps, I mean visual,
Yes, yes.
they can now really appreciate what will happen. So what Project NOAA would be presenting is, let's say, 6 hours from now, assuming there might be a flood events, we will show the area where the flood, where there will be flooding, even the depth, of course, to a certain range. But
Yes.
people can now appreciate the flood, not just by saying flood, but saying where the flood will be.
Yes.
So, this is where nakatulong talaga itong other form of technology
Yes.
to make it visually, and with that, it becomes more appreciated by the public. Now, all of even in Pablo, when we identified the vulnerable areas, we simulated, for example, what will happen if another Pablo will occur in Compostela.
Correct.
And we made some simulation, and what will happen, I mean, hopefully it will not happen, but anyway, it clearly shows the areas wherein it would be safe if another Pablo will happen. So with this kind of visualization, and these are all science-based, somehow the public would appreciate it, and it will take it, I mean, easier for them to be convinced.
What are your challenges? What do you see are challenges that are preventing you from being, you said partially successful, from being completely successful?
Actually, we are proceeding. The pace is accelerating. Maybe the hardest was the first one.
Yes.
As you mentioned earlier, there were some apprehension if it can be done. For example, because of the components, the sensors that we installed were also locally developed and fabricated.
Yes.
So the modeling was, again, developed by us.
Yes.
Even the LiDAR maps,
Yes.
we do it differently now. Before we bought maps, mapping products, right? Now we bought the instrument,
Yes.
and we process the data into products. Because of this capability building,
Yes.
we are able to develop other products, other applications, and again, because of this, I mean, after the first apprehension, it's now a little bit easier. Okay. So, yeah. So we do not look at it now as, there's more appreciation.
Definitely. I think that's true. We've seen it. So that you're halfway through your term, from the minute you began until the minute you end. I guess so far in the first 3 years, what do you consider the greatest achievements, and what do you plan to push forward in the next 3 years?
Okay, the first 3 years was really starting. So the first, let's go to the approach first.
Yes.
Is to have a more direct outcome, more tangible outcome. Meaning outcome that can be used in the marketplace by producers, to improve competitiveness. Even if it's, we call it direct applied research, it takes years. So the appreciation of the outcome would come years after.
Yes.
But we have started, and some of them are already here.
Yes.
Some of them would be next year.
Yes.
We're excited on the potential rollout next year and the years after that.
And this isn't just Project Noma. What are the rollouts that we will expect in the coming years?
For example, in shrimps. Let's go
Shrimps.
to aquaculture.
Interesting. Okay.
Problem with shrimp industry even way back. It was a boom industry before.
Yes.
They encountered a problem with disease, white spot. They call it white spots. We are able to, use science to address making our shrimps resistant to this kind of disease. But even more important is that we are able to improve the yield. For example, for every hectare, before it was, let's say, 1 ton per hectare. Before the target was 10 tons per hectare, to increase it 1,000 times, 1,000%. But now our scientists are positive or confident that they can even increase it even more than 10 times. So this kind of productivity growth or productivity increase is exciting, makes it beneficial anyway, the normal word. But we're also looking at, because productivity is input-output.
Yes.
Increasing output,
Yes.
normally with the same input, but
Yes.
even better, increasing output with less inputs.
Correct. Yes.
So we are always targeting increasing output and lessening the input. So for example, for shrimps, really the amount of feed that has to be provided for the shrimp with the same output. Right now, it's even increasing the output. So we were able to convince our scientists to commit to certain numbers. So we are now ready for rollout next year.
Fantastic. Others,
With the private sector.
aside from the shrimp?
Shrimps,
what are your other-
tilapia, bangus. We are very curious with mud crab, even tahong.
This is really direct. Would have a direct
but
economic.
for example, even for this, we need we call it sometimes in agriculture planting materials,
Yes.
to have good quality planting materials. But we have we call it emerging technologies program, and one of them is genome.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Everybody's
great.
familiar with genome.
Yes, of course.
So we're trying to find DNA markers for example, even for as I mentioned kanina, shrimps, DNA markers.
Yes. Yes.
What are the DNA markers that make it fast growing or disease resistant?
Interesting.
And to use this DNA marker to find for the mother, for the brood stock.
So if I were to characterize the obsession that's driving you, it's really, you mentioned direct outcome. So you're looking for how to use science to be able to increase productivity.
Productivity, for us to be competitive, and for us to increase productivity, you have to get the best practice or the cutting edge technologies, and one of them is genome.
Yeah, fantastic. What would make a Filipino? I guess, do we have the brains? Do we have the scientists to do this?
Definitely, yes, we have, and even with genome program that we have,
Yeah.
that is with UP. It started slowly, but
Yes.
now, because we have a very good, let's say, roadmap for it,
Yes.
the application is multiplying. I mentioned earlier, we are trying to make DNA markers as the almost a mainstream to get good quality planting materials.
Yes.
So we're earlier talking about shrimp, tilapia, bangus, but also for plants. For example, for
Yes.
rice, coconut,
Yes.
even mango and other plants. Even sugar cane. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have all of these programs to identify DNA markers of plants with superior traits or characteristic, and to make consistent the seedlings.
Okay, interesting. I mean, Erie has been here for decades, and they've been doing this kind
Yes,
of genetic
yes,
modification
yes,
with
yes,
rice.
yes.
Part of what I think is appealing to many foreigners, though, is the fact that our vegetables, our produce, are all not genetically modified. I mean, is that
No, we're not going to genetically modified.
Okay.
It's just identifying the DNA markers.
okay? So you won't go as far.
No,
Okay,
no.
because
I mean,
they've
it's
talked about problems, for example, with the plumper tomatoes, right?
Not.
I'm
I mean,
jumping
we're
to
not talking about
conclusions.
technology. The advantages,
Yes.
but of genetically modified. There are technical advantages for that, but there is also public negative.
Yeah. Well, like anything with technology, it has positives and negatives, right? And
But we are more on the identifying the DNA markers of superior, which is you can find.
so then you will grow that type. You won't, or
For example, for coconut,
okay.
sometimes a disease
Yes.
attacks the whole hundreds of hectares,
Yes.
but there are survivors.
Yes. Survival of the fittest.
Yes.
Yes. So you're gonna.
Identifying
Yeah.
what are the DNA markers of that survivor. So there are also plenty of coconut trees, and some trees would produce with a good yield.
Great, I understand. Secretary Montejo, I have a lot of questions coming in from social media for you, and I could speak to you for hours about this, but we have limited amount of time. Let me throw some of these out. From @moveslikejangan on Twitter, asking what are the DOST's plans regarding the. Oh, I'm sorry. This is from @rapasite. What's your plan for education?
Okay. Two things.
You can't have scientists without education, right? Going.
Okay. Maybe improving education. Maybe okay.
Yes.
Provide connectivity, as you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Could really improve
Yes.
not only education but all kinds of government services, providing government services. So we have a program to be able to address connectivity
Yes.
throughout the Philippines.
Yes. So
That
you
is very
really
cost-effective.
believe that connectivity will boost
Definitely.
everything. Yeah.
Definitely. That is a leveraging or improving, leveraging the people in the rural areas. The second one is this morning we call it LEAP.
Yes.
The LEAP is really a software program to improve our English proficiency. It was really developed to address the low hiring rate for BPO.
Okay.
So we developed these programs, and it uses voice recognition, speech recognition. It uses artificial intelligence, and of course, good speech. And integrating all this discipline, we come up with a software that you can use.
Fantastic.
Stand
To learn
alone.
English. Yeah.
We call it skill enhancement. But using all of this technology, we would like to look into other mode of training or skills enhancement. So maybe this can support our education.
Interesting. The other problem we have now also is, since technology levels the playing field, our skilled scientists can make a lot more money overseas than staying here. How do you retain the scientists?
Okay. First of all, most scientists, it's really the fulfillment that's important for them. It's not really the monetary. As long as the basic needs are fulfilled, they would be more interested in the fulfillment. And I think there's the highest form of fulfillment if what you can do can really result to benefit for the, for us, for the Filipino people.
Yes.
I think those are the main drivers of our scientists. So by creating this kind of environment, by having all of these programs which would result to improvement on the lives of the Filipino, I think that is the great, the most important motivation.
Are you seeing that happening now in the last 3 years?
Yes.
That's good to hear. Let me ask you about we've been talking a while, but government services. How are you using technology to cut red tape? I watched you do a wonderful presentation on traffic, and you showed time motion studies of the MRT. I actually still don't see that reflected outside, in the traffic scene. What are you doing? Let's focus on traffic before I ask about other government services. You can see I have 10 million questions, but how do you take that scientific study that you did and make it a reality so that we can cut down our traffic?
First of all, is definition of the problem. Let's say traffic.
Yes.
Okay. One thing is fixed.
Yeah.
The road space.
Yes.
Another thing that we have to address is the transport requirements of the public, and it's always increasing.
Yes.
But we have only a definite road space.
Yes.
And how many people can we convey with our existing transport system?
Correct.
I think those are the things that we really have to find better ways of transporting the public.
But the presentation you gave was very specific. The number of people within this area, the number that can ride the MRT at any specific point in time. So
but
you've done these.
Us,
yes,
we can only present a objective definition of the problem and even alternative mode of transport. But it involves other social concerns. What are we doing in the UST? One is that we have an AGT in UP.
Yes.
We are conducting tests. Hopefully it will be finished by September. So by that time we are more confident if it can be used. We are deploying or installing a bigger one. Bigger one means it would have the same capacity as our MRT in Bikutan, but it's another test track. We are also, most probably it's now being forbid. We call it road train, the one I presented in that event.
Yes.
Which is rubber tired, can be deployed in existing road system. And another one is the real train, which can be deployed in PNR.
Yes.
All of them are now ready for its various stages of bidding. Hopefully, the prototype would be scheduled in end of the year. Interesting. So the road train would be would have a big capacity, let's say 400, 500 per road train. It would be more energy efficient.
Yes.
And it doesn't really require an elevated. And if you use it as a system, transport system, it would have almost the same. Same. I mean, we have to clarify that almost same as elevated train system.
Can I ask you again? Watching that presentation was fascinating for me. In order to come up with these solutions you're recommending, you needed to identify the problem. So, what is the problem that you see when it comes to traffic in Manila? What needs to be solved?
Okay, let's go first for the given.
Yeah.
We just have a fixed road space. So what this would result to, is to increase, let's go to road space, and we need to transport, let's say, 1 million passengers a day.
Yes.
Let's say, assuming those are the numbers.
Yes.
But it's definite. We're talking about buses, we're talking about taxis, we're talking about private cars.
Yes.
But one lane, if it's really reserved,
Yes. Can move
dedicated,
faster. Yeah.
you can be able to transport, let's say, 1 million, or let's say 600,000 or 700,000.
I've seen this in Jakarta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. We are. Let me throw the other questions at you. So traffic was one. Government services was the other part of that question. How do you cut red tape? What other recommendations have you made to actually improve government services?
Actually, this is not only. This is a collaboration between DOST ICTO,
Okay.
DBM, and NEDA. EGOV, we call it EGOV project.
eGov. Yes.
And also an iGov.
Yes.
Those are the
Agencies.
initiative of the government to harmonize all the IT system.
So it's a collaborative
Yes,
effort inside
collaborative,
government.
yes. And that will really address what you mentioned earlier, cut the processes,
Fantastic.
using ICT as the enabling.
Aside from Project NOAA, is there something that is a symbol of success of that eGov?
No, EGOV is not really part of Project NOAA.
Yeah.
EGOV is
aside from that, which is a DOST initiative, right? Because that one is the one where we've focused the most attention on DOST.
NOAA.
So aside
let's
from
go.
that,
What comes after NOAA?
yes,
We like to
yes.
Okay. Earlier I was trying to picture what is really Project NOAA, what's the components.
Yes.
For example, rain in the Sierra Madre would go to Marikina. What we are trying to do is to improve our weather forecasting. So we would have a supercomputer by end of this year. We would be using better or more enhanced modeling using that supercomputer. So instead of current rain, it would be 7 days. We could have a forecast 7 days before.
Yes.
So in effect, we would have 6 to 7 days projection if there is a possibility of flooding in Marikina. Now, all of this information, we were talking here of flooding.
Yes.
We're talking here of the role, some time ago, it's the role of Pag-asa, which is sometimes identified with typhoon tracking.
Yes.
But the other role of Pag-asa is really a weatherman.
Yes.
Sometimes even more important. Before or if there is no typhoon, to identify the areas wherein there will be some drought.
Yes.
Even having a rainfall picture for the
Yes.
next month, for the next season, that will be very beneficial for the farmers. And having all of this information area specific.
Yes.
Meaning, if for example, here, would there be rain, or how much rain
Yes.
will there be? So we call this a smarter, part of a component of a smarter agriculture. So using all of this information to help the farmers.
And how do you do the infrastructure for this? Because one of the things we've done now is also to look at Pag-asa. It's what resources they have. And in one station, for example, in Catanduanes, I think, which is where our science reporter went, you had the Pag-asa scientists there, but then they couldn't get the data back to base because they didn't have connectivity. They were using a USB. So how do you deal with these challenges? What are those challenges and how do you deal with them?
Okay, of course we have to address all this connectivity requirements, definitely. But we always look at it on a national scope. For example, earlier we were talking about 7 days weather forecast. It will not be, because we are using supercomputer, it will not only be more accurate, it will be more area specific, meaning we have different weather information for different areas. And also it would, aside from 7 days, we would have a seasonal weather information, meaning 6 months from now or months. And again, using the supercomputer, we can downscale climate change scenarios to specific areas.
Yes. And that's critical for a country that's ranked number 3, the third most vulnerable in the world, correct?
Yes. I mean, if we're going to go to disaster preparedness, we need information for us to be able to develop mitigation strategy.
Correct.
And all of this information will now be more area specific or watershed specific or around the river basin.
Yes, fantastic. So, sorry, I know I said aside from Project NOAA, what other things do we expect now from you?
Okay,
about
for
the agriculture.
We are working with DOH.
Yes, exactly. Actually, that's a question from one of the people on Twitter. DOST's plans regarding DOH, new joint agreement with DOH to promote e-health, also DOST and telemedicine.
Yes.
Tell us more about it. Can you tell us?
Okay. Maybe, I don't know the exact number, but around 50% of Filipinos dies without seeing a doctor. We've been trying to address that. I mean, generation, but I don't think it's that possible. I don't think it's possible to physically Filipinos to see a doctor. But using technology, that's what we call telehealth. We call it RX Box, wherein a patient can be diagnosed with the sensors, like an ECG, like that. All the sensors that is needed in the clinic, and all of this data can be communicated to the central, to the doctor, not necessarily in the barrio.
Yes.
We are very, very bullish with this technology. We are now testing with, I think, 20 or 50 all over the Philippines. I mean, geographically.
Yes.
We would like to ramp it up because I think we have the technology. It's now more on the system.
Yes.
To make the system more stable, more reliable, because we're talking about medical, we're talking about health.
So you're doing this in conjunction with DOH?
Yes. Hopefully next year, I mean, we're talking about hundreds. And eventually, I mean, we're always being positive to be able to reach out to all the barangays.
But key to this is going to be connectivity again, right? So I actually saw Catalyst, which is one of the initiatives of, I believe it's Kickstarter. Kickstarter and Idea Space are trying to amplify things like this, and they have something called e-nanay, getting prenatal health care to women. But again, it was through connectivity, which is a chicken or egg question if you think about it. But this sounds fantastic. So that was a question from @Marcelo on Twitter, very interested in this. So that is the e-health. Are there other components of it?
Yeah. Again, to address the connectivity.
Yes.
We are looking at TB white space. We are.
Are you working with Google on this? Google talked about moving into that white space.
Maybe, or Microsoft. But we are working with USAID. We have a pilot project in Bohol.
Fantastic.
So this is a very cost-effective being able to reach out to the unserved or underserved areas who doesn't have connectivity. For example, in the latest COMELEC election.
Yes.
Maybe 70, I don't know exact number, maybe 70+%, the results were known immediately using the connectivity of our telcos. That would mean that 30 of the precincts doesn't have that kind of connectivity. This would be able to address that. Again, with this kind of a cost-effective initiative to address connectivity, it would also benefit, as you mentioned earlier, education, because they would have internet.
Yes.
And hopefully the very, very positive or benefit for health would be the driver to really push for this. And all other government service can be made available because of this improvement of connectivity. And we're talking nationwide.
By when?
Again, we are always bullish and we're always
Yes.
positive thinking.
Yes?
2015, 2016?
Before the end of your term.
Yes.
Fantastic. How much connectivity? Because the telcos won't say anything like this, really. How much? 100% connectivity?
I mean, coverage?
Yes.
Possible?
Yes.
Yes.
Possible. Fantastic. We got to tweet that. 100% in connectivity by 2015, 2016.
Let's say 99.
99% connectivity. May pahabol daw. Let me pull down. This is from social media. I don't have it. I don't have a... It's not there. Well, let me ask you to wrap up. This is exciting. It's wonderful to end on an exciting note. That's the best news I've gotten in a long time. 99% connectivity within 3 years' time. That means
We are
that,
pushing for that.
what do you need to make that happen?
Maybe a little policy and hopefully private collaborators.
Are you talking telcos or beyond telcos? A little
Both,
bit,
both.
You also need, if it's TV white space, you need NTC,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Do you need the TV stations, the broadcast stations, to help with something like this, or no?
To support.
To support it,
Yes.
not to stand in the way of it. TV stations don't stand in the way of this. That's fantastic. Let me give you, we have been here now for a while. Let me give you last thoughts, last words. Very exciting time. Lots of problems also, but your last thoughts.
Okay, we would like to welcome everybody to visit us. We have a Science Week exhibit in SMX, MOA. We would really like to convey the message that harnessing science, technology, innovation can really improve our competitiveness. For SME, it can improve your viability. We have many technologies that are available for you. We have actually, yesterday, we have the whole day for the SME. Again, for those who have not yet visited our exhibit, we welcome you and hope you can appreciate better the relevance and the potential of what science technology can do.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We have been speaking with Mario Montejo, the Science and Technology Secretary, on the DOST's innovative projects to solve various problems. There are a lot of problems, and now we're using science to try to tackle them. I'm Maria Ressa. Thank you for watching. I